Hey everyone, Brendan Snyder here. How are you? Thanks so much for joining me and welcome to another episode of New Music Finds, where I like to collect together all the different things that I've purchased over the past week, present it to you, give a little bit of background on it, maybe turn you on to something new and or just remind you of some cool things that's in your own collection. I've got 20 things to run through with you, some vinyl, some CDs, some non-secular, some secular, so a little bit of everything here to go through with you guys. We'll do it in just a bit, but before we start, if you're new to my channel and you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do. Also leave a comment, hit like, all those things help support my channel. I'd greatly appreciate it. And of course, as an added bonus, by turning on notifications, you're gonna stay up to date on everything going on in the world of music, just like this with New Music Finds, talking about some cool new releases and also some other great stuff that I've dug up along the way. So we're gonna jump in with new releases. And the first few things here you should probably be fairly familiar with. Rolling Stones dropped a new live archival album, Welcome to Shepherd's Bush. I didn't know this until I actually got a hold of it, but it is actually limited to 15,000 copies worldwide. And it was released to celebrate the 25th anniversary of this intimate show, which was a club show in front of 1,800 people. But that wasn't what drew my attention to this. Most of you know I'm not a big fan of live albums, and that has to do with both the way they sound. Oftentimes the crowd noise is too much, and I don't like that. I prefer the cleanliness of studio recordings. But aside from that, it's usually because live albums focus on the hits. Well, this one here is another one of those ones where the band digs deep into their catalog, doing a lot of rarities, lesser known songs, and don't totally focus on the hits. There's plenty of them still on here. You still get songs like Shattered, but then you also get a song that doesn't really get played a lot off of Some Girls. Respectable is on here. We've got All Down the Line. We've got Before They Make You Run. And then we still got some other big ones on here. Tumbling Dice, Brown Sugar, Jumping Jack Flash. They do Saint of Me on here. So some of those lesser known singles that were released but just haven't been played in a number of years. So this was very cool to get. And it sounds fantastic. So I got that. And then this has been available to stream since September. I've announced it numerous times, and then it just seems like it's always pushed back or delayed for some reason, at least here in the US. The Sweet. Well, I finally got a copy of it, full circle, brand new album. We only have one original member left, the guitar player, Andy Scott, but still digging what he's doing, so I'm enjoying this. And this I ended up getting from Sound Exchange at Anthony's store. And I had waited and waited and waited for my copy to come through from Amazon and looked into getting it from different places, and it was just always delayed. And I walked in, and lo and behold, they had it. So that was really cool. And I was finally able to get it added to the collection. I've heard it already. I've streamed it. I got tired of waiting for it. It's been 3 months or however long that the streaming version has been available for. And it kind of bums me out because I really like to get the albums and devour them at that point when they're released, when they're brand new, and not fight so hard to have to get an album or wait so long to get an album. Whereas like this, and you can see I haven't cracked into it yet just for that reason. I will open it up. I will play it, obviously. Sometimes you see things that, haven't been taken out of the shrink wrap, and might have been that I've already streamed it, and at some point I will crack into it, but I do play everything. I do listen to everything. I just don't like to open the stuff until I'm ready to play the CD. So I don't rip all the shrink wrap off and open things up until I'm ready for it. These came out a week or two back, and then I finally decided to pick one of these up. Pearl Jam has released a bunch of their live shows. These were released to record stores, so it wasn't just website only type stuff. The one I chose to pick up was Napa, California, May 25th from 2024. 2 CD live show. But what I liked about this was that they open with a song on here, a rockin' song, Lukin', whereas most of the other ones I saw from the dates were these really slow, atmospheric sounding openers, and then they would kick in. And the second track on here being my favorite song that they do, Corduroy. It just was really cool set list on this one here, different than all the others, that made me want to grab this. And so again, here's a classic case of a live album having a really cool set list that makes me intrigued to want to hear it, that gives me some excitement, and it's just not hit after hit after hit sort of thing. So added that into the collection. And then I think I showed you this one back when I made a trip to Princeton Record Exchange, and then I forgot to include it the last week or maybe even the last 2 weeks. So I'm showing it to you now because I did pick it up, UFO, and it's simply called Rarities. But it's not really Rarities in any way, shape, or form. I couldn't find any info on it. I picked it up. I had seen that it was a new release. It is on this Top Music Disc label. It has this kind of funky thing running down the side. I saw they did one of these for Yes, and I decided to bypass that when I found out the same sort of thing. And this one here is essentially a live show that sounds like the audience noise has been removed from it. Somebody that was watching mentioned, left a comment saying what show it was. There's no information on the inside that tells you anything about this. So I'm a little bit bummed by this. This is probably one of those ones that will just go in a box. It really won't be kept part of the collection. I'm not necessarily going to get rid of it, but it's not what it says it is. It's not alternate takes or B-sides or anything of that nature. So cool live set, but then like I said, you barely can hear the audience in it at all. So I don't know if they tried to remove it or they just really turned it down to try to make it sound like studio. But all in all, it kind of seems like this label is trying to pull the wool over people's eyes. And instead of calling them live shows, they're trying to put them out. So maybe they were radio broadcast shows, but now they're going to put them out under things like Rarities and try to essentially trick people into buying them. I don't know, but I'm not happy with it. So Top Music Disc, if you see that, be wary, know what that is, and definitely check it out before buying it. All right, this next one, very, very hard to come by. I want to say something like I think it was only a total of 5,000 copies released worldwide, 2,000 or 3,000 from the website, but then another 2,000 or 3,000 from the record label, and they were available to be ordered into at least independent stores. I don't think you could get this off like Amazon or anything like that, but Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers vinyl only release for the Gennaro tapes, live in Edinburgh 1982. It's on Third Man Records. I have not opened it because I'm not ready to listen to it yet, but I will. So Sound Exchange was able to get these in and sold out instantly on these. Luckily, I'd pre-requested one through Anthony, and so he had ordered one off of the website, and I think that's where this one comes from, I think he said. And so this one here is turquoise vinyl. So I was getting one that was ordered from the website, which went directly to his house, which meant I had a copy because the ones he got into the store, like I said, just sold out super quick. And I forget the guy's name, but Gennaro is his first name. And I think it says on here somewhere, Gennaro Rippo. He was their sound man. And so I don't know if they're going to start a series now and call them the Gennaro tapes and start doing like the Dix Picks and things like that, where these sound engineers who recorded shows finally start seeing the light of day. But this was taken directly from one of his cassette recordings, and it's the first one now. And maybe if we're lucky, we're going to start seeing some more of those things. Maybe they'll start turning up for Record Store Day and stuff like that. I could use some Tom Petty releases to be part of Record Store Day going forward, the same way we get Doors releases for pretty much everyone. For a while, we were getting Motorhead ones for pretty much everyone. We didn't get one this last go around, but yeah, there's some artists that do something every single time, and I do love that. Okay. So I was, I've been on a whole alternative rock kick lately, so a lot of this next stuff falls into that vein. I'm still riding that wave, and I get on those kicks for a while, and despite what's coming out new and other stuff, and at the end of the years, when everything slows down, it's funny because I will sometimes get off in a genre or an area that I don't normally spend a long periods of time in. Me, metal, glam metal, classic 70s sounding style rock, that sort of stuff. But the alt rock thing, which I do love, I don't get into those and spend long, what I call, being on a kick. in something for long periods of time. But now it's probably been about 3 weeks that I've been just head over heels with all that sort of stuff, and even getting other stuff and experiencing other stuff. I keep coming back to it. So Better Than Ezra, Closer. This one here, I want to say was their fourth studio album. This one was the fourth studio album. And, they were getting off into a more sort of what I would call a pop rock direction. They came out and they did the first two albums, Deluxe and the follow-up, and it was full on, alt rock sounding stuff. But then after that, they really started mixing in the stuff that made them more of a pop rock band. And that was a turnoff at the time. I've come back full circle to it as my tastes have really broadened, and I can now listen to it for what it is. But I'm enjoying this stuff a lot more now, especially with the latest release, Super Magic, which I think is a fantastic album from 2024 and deserves a lot more love it just really ran under the radar this year. And at the time, I have to say, it didn't even move me. And then it's one of those ones that I threw on at one point and it just clicked with me. And that's one of the things that kicked me off down this whole road of the alt rock stuff. But one Depeche Mode album I did not have in my collection, Construction Time Again. I don't know why I didn't. I just thought I had everything. And was going through my collection, pulled everything out because I was enjoying listening to Depeche Mode. And whenever I get onto these kicks, I go to Wikipedia, I read history of the band, and I look at the albums, and I read the Wikipedia entries when I'm listening to the albums. And I very quickly noticed, hey, I don't have that one. Where is that one? Never purchased it. So I was never a huge fan of their first four albums, the more synth-laden stuff. So it's probably why it just ran under the radar as far as that was concerned. I definitely like the stuff coming much later. But yeah, that gave me another one to get. So that was very cool. And last week I showed you guys this one, Remixes 81 to 04, a standalone disc. I had a promo copy, a white label promo copy without the art and everything. So I bought this to replace that and really enjoyed it. And then I found this one, 81 to 2011 single disc edition. I've got the 3 CD box set edition of this, but I didn't know they released a single disc edition, a highlights from. So also they call it, number 2. So in this series of this, you had this one and then you had this one. And I've never seen this single disc version of it, but they had it at Sound Exchange and that was a cool find. So I got to add that in while being on a Depeche Mode kick. Something not in the alt rock world, but the latest Guess Who album. And while they've only got one original member at this point, Gary Peterson, the drummer, I still wanted to check this out, but it interestingly came more out of the fact that these guys have lost the right to the name through lawsuits and stuff. The judge ruled that the rights to the name be returned to the two main guys, the singer, the guitar player, so Randy Bachman and Burton Cummings. And I'm kind of bummed by that because I don't think that's totally fair. I think Gary Peterson had been out on the road doing the band and keeping it alive. But for him and the bass player to lose the rights to the name and for it to go back over to the other guys, and I get it, they wrote the songs, they're more the defining image and everything. But I'm not quite sure how all that works out. If you quit a band and you leave a band and the band reactivates in the 80s and stays active all the way through for the next 40 years, how do you then go sue and say, time to give me back the band name? You didn't fight for it 40 years ago. What now? So not saying that this band should be out on the road since there's only a drummer in the lineup, but I wanted to really listen to it and hear it because that album, along with the previous album, will now go out of print because they don't have the rights to the name anymore. And I will say this, they didn't actually lose the rights to the name. Let me back that up a bit. What they lost the rights to is being able to perform the songs that Burton Cummings and Randy Bachman wrote. They lost the rights to that, and they can't very well go out and play a live show with none of those songs. And so what happened is the promoters started dropping all of the shows and they couldn't book anything. And so thereby they've hung it up. So the name reverts back over to Randy Bachman and Burton Cummings. But it's a weird way that it occurred, but essentially the rights have now gone back over to those two guys. Either way, they prompted it and created it. So I've been picking up a lot of T.Rex lately. You saw the box set from last week and some of the alternative edition albums that I picked up. And I picked up one other one, Tanks, and this one here called Left Hand Luke, and it's alternate editions of the song. So same, creates the album and everything, but it does it through alternate editions, and you get the alternate artwork and everything about it. And I really like these. I still have the original albums, but I can listen to these alternate editions. And so I'm only missing the first two T.Rex proper albums, not Tyrannosaurus Rex, but T.Rex. And I don't know if they got these as well. I'm going to check into it to see if they did, but I've now purchased all of the other ones. So I think this was the third one picked up, added into the collection. It was just kind of one of those things where I was finally at the time where I said, I got to finish that collection. I've only ever bought one at a time as I found them randomly. And it was just sort of, okay, time to do it, So those are from eBay. Just went on eBay, picked them up for about 20 a pop, this one and the other two that I did last week. Okay, and one of the other bands more recently of the alternative rock world that I just fell in head over heels listening to tons of their stuff was R.E.M. So I've owned all their stuff in one configuration or another, except for the first two albums, and I didn't realize that. So same thing. I thought I had these. I thought I had them as deluxe editions. Murmur and then, Reckoning. So these two albums here, first and second, 83 and 84, I thought I had it as box sets. I've long had the entire, album catalog as deluxe edition box sets. But those two are not part of it. So as I was listening to this and doing my Wikipedia and reading, and I said, well, wait a minute, where are those two? And because I had pulled out the box sets and stuff and went through all my collection and realized I don't. So I may have had them at one point, back in the 90s or something, but I didn't any longer. So it was time to get those and add those back in. So used copies of those so that I don't spend too much on it. And I have this, but I had it as a deluxe edition and a limited edition packaging. And it's a little funky the way that it's set up with a slip cover and everything. And I don't like to slide in and out and pull those things apart and stuff. But best of R.E.M. So long since had this, but I just wanted a jewel case edition of it. So added this to the collection. And I have to say, one, I've always really liked the new song that was on this, Bad Day. I think it's one of the best songs they ever wrote. It was written back in 86, but never completed until this collection in 2003. They added in two soundtrack songs and one other new song. So 4 songs that don't appear on any albums is in this collection. And they didn't stick only the hits in here. Well, they are all hits, but some of them are lesser known ones, I should say. And this plays really great. It was one of those weird things where I like greatest hits packages, but usually they don't just completely move me. And I popped this one on, and I must have listened to this one nonstop, on and off for a few days straight, just playing this thing because each song flows so well into the next. So it's totally worth it for me to get it because I never felt this way about the collection when I picked it up originally, which had a bonus disc in it of rarity. So I've got that limited edition package, 2 CD edition of it. But maybe I just was focusing on the rarities at the time. But going back and really focusing on this and having, it opens with Man in the Moon, which is a great song. But then it gives you the soundtrack only, The Great Beyond, followed by the brand new song, Bad Day, before it drops you right back into one of their biggest songs, What's the Frequency, Kenneth. But then it moves to a lesser known song from later in their career, from the late 90s, I think it was, maybe early 2000s, all the way to Reno, before jumping back to big song from 1991, Losing My Religion, and so forth. That kind of keeps doing that. Anyway, just worked for me. It wasn't chronological. So I thought that the way that they organized that was really, really great. And so I definitely have both of these, but I have these as box sets, and I wanted to get jewel case editions. So same sort of thing, Life's Rich Pageant and Document. And I would have just bought standard used copies of this to have jewel cases so I don't have to open the box sets up, things like that. But I found these that say the IRS years vintage, and it gives the year. So 86 on this one, 87 on this one. And in both cases, they've got bonus content on them. And these look to be imports. I don't know if they're European imports or what, but they're from EMI. And so they're 1993, and I didn't know that they had these out at that time. But I found these at the record store. So what turned out, or was initially just me going to buy a used copy to have it as a jewel case, actually allowed me to get something I didn't already have in the format, in the version that it is. So I don't feel like I'm just simply replacing something here. I'm actually getting something cool that is different with a slightly different sound to it, because of whether it was remastered or not remastered. But the 1993 sound that is this is different than the 2025 remaster of the box set, which is better, but I'm okay with that. I do like hearing the slightly different versions of these things from their releases over the years. Okay, and to wrap things up, talked about, secular versus non-secular. So I've got 5 Christmas things, and these are things that I've purchased over the past month or so leading up to Thanksgiving night. That's when for me at least, it triggers Christmas. And so you probably know about some of these too, but they're new to me now because I didn't open them. I just put them aside, waited until Christmas arrived. And once Christmas arrives, then I was able to break these things out. Steve Perry, the season 3. So this one here being his album, The Season, which was later reissued with 2 bonus tracks, The Season 2, and now adds onto those 2 additional tracks 6 more tracks, and so calling it The Season 3. He doesn't actually have 3 of these Christmas albums, just the same one with bonus stuff keep getting added to it. So definitely know that you're not getting anything brand new. New art though, so it looks somewhat different. I hope it didn't trick any of you guys in it, but it probably did, and that's unfortunate. Mickey Thomas of Starship has a Christmas album out this year, just simply called a Classic Christmas. And we've got a bunch of, regular Christmas songs. It's the most wonderful time of the year. I'll be home for Christmas. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Just a bunch of songs like those. So there's that. And I did have this one, but Gwen Stefani had released a Christmas album, You Make It Feel Like Christmas, but then she released a deluxe edition adding on 5 more bonus tracks, and I never picked that one up. And with the release of her latest solo album and being so into that, enjoying that so much, I really was looking forward to breaking out my Christmas album from her, because I've always loved this, and to have 5 more songs on it, that was totally worth it for me to pick that up. I wish Bon Jovi would make an entire Christmas album start to finish, but they've only ever done one-off songs. And I finally found this British or European CD single called Please Come Home for Christmas. That's Cindy Crawford on the cover. They made a video for it, but it gathered up 3 Christmas songs. So you have Please Come Home for Christmas. Then I Wish Every Day Could Be Like Christmas, which is an original that they wrote. And then Backdoor Santa, which is from like 87 or something. So it's got that cool Bon Jovi sound, not like the later 90s era stuff of those two. But 3 Bon Jovi Christmas songs on 1 disc. So at least if I want a Bon Jovi sound, I can put that on and get 3 of them. And the last thing was this. Bass player for the Ramones, C.J. Ramone, 45, called Christmas Lullaby, and it's paired with Father Christmas. Never knew this came out, never knew this was available. Apparently it's been around for some time. Had been down in the basement of Sound Exchange. They found it, they put it up front, and then I bought it, and they were like, oh, hey, we just threw that out there. So this is something that had run under the radar, but I was so glad when I found it. So 20 different things for you guys. Lots and lots of cool stuff, obviously all over the place in terms of genres, from punk to pop to Christmas to non-Christmas, to alternative rock to regular rock, and you name it and beyond. But that's how I roll. That's how I like it. And onward and upward to bigger and better and new things for next week. So do tune in next Wednesday when I do new episodes of New Music Finds every week. And I run through all the cool stuff that I picked up through the past week. And again, trying to turn you on to some new stuff or remind you of some cool stuff that you didn't know that you still had in your collection. All right, everyone, take care. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.